Okay, we've started recording. Bella, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cass, for that. Good morning, everybody. We're just waiting for people to come in. As they do, as you come in, quick welcome and just heads up that we're going to be recording this session. Hopefully you can stay with us until the end, but this recording will be available to you at a later stage. So I'll give a few more seconds and we'll kick it off. All right. So officially, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this latest webinar series. My name is Bella Duclos. I am the business unit manager at Ingram for cybersecurity. So I look after the whole cybersecurity portfolio. And it's my great pleasure that on behalf of Ingram Micro and Fortinet to welcome you to this webinar about the future of secure networking and Unified SASE. Today, we're going to be learning about the topic and we're going to have an opportunity to ask questions from one of the experts in the subject, Robert Nobilo. So Robert comes from Australia. We're going to forgive him for that. It's okay. You're safe here, I think. We'll see. And he has over 20 years of experience in IT and a lot of that in cybersecurity. So he comes with a lot of knowledge and context of SASE being used in the market. I had the pleasure to see Robert present last week at Fast and Secure in Sydney. And not only I've learned a lot, but it was interesting to see that the audience had a lot of questions and it really resonated what he was saying, just really in terms of what is the future of security. So I think we have an opportunity now to spend the next 40 minutes learning, but also asking questions. So if you have any questions through this presentation, making sure to ask. If you haven't been in one of those webinars on Teams, right on the top bar of your screen, you'll see this chat and then this Q&A. So if you click on the Q&A, you can ask your questions as we go. So please don't wait until the end to ask your questions. We're going to try to pause a couple of times if there are questions there that we can address along as we go. However, we do have time at the end to ask further questions as well and clarify anything you want to know. So yeah, it's a really good opportunity to just hear from the expert. Robert is responsible for the adoption of SASE in Australia. So I think, with that comes a lot of experience on, okay, what does that actually really mean, translate in terms of opportunity and real life. So without further ado, I will pass it over to you, Robert.
No worries. Thank you very much. So, yep, once again, I'm Robert Nobilo. So I look after secure networking and SASE across Australia. And so, yeah, I'm just going to share with you some of my observations, a bit more about what FortiSASE is and what the future looks like. So, as Isabella said, feel free to ask questions along the way. All right. So, first off, Unified SASE, why is it growing like it is growing? So, as we all know, there's a lot of complexity within our environment. So things used to be a lot easier. People would come into the office, they'd get access into applications in the data center. However, the attack surface has grown now. So we've now got applications everywhere. So we've got applications not only in the data center, but they can be in the public cloud. They can be across a multitude of clouds. I was just with a customer last week who had 5 different public cloud vendors. So trying to manage that was quite hard. We've got SaaS applications, we've got applications on the internet, we've got customers who have applications in various edge locations. Now, especially after COVID, people are no longer in the office. So as I said previously, it was quite easy when everyone's in the office, getting them secure access into their applications. But now the reality is we're in this hybrid working environment. So people are working in different locations, they're working from home. If they're like me, they can be working from cafes, from airplanes, from wherever. We now have an explosion of IoT, OT devices. And so, as I said, the attack surface has grown. And over time, what we've had to do is we've bought point solutions to try and plug those holes within our environments. However, more security doesn't actually make us more secure. In fact, it causes a lot of security gaps because there isn't a lot of integration between these various tools. So this is really driving a consolidation and a convergence approach. I'm sure you've all seen this. So, these are our 3 pillars. These are our core focuses as an organization. So secure networking, Unified SASE, and AI-driven SecOps. We're hearing a lot of vendors talking about we have a platform now and we have a platform now. We've had platforms. We've just been calling it a fabric for a very long time. So the key with our fabric, with our platform, is it's all one operating system. And so you'll continue to hear that theme as I go through SASE in the different bits and pieces. Is everything that we do, every company that we buy, we make sure can all be integrated with that single operating system, which actually helps us drive that convergence and that integration story. So if I start on secure networking, so it's funny, my role actually started as the SASE specialist. However, SASE is so intertwined with secure networking and SD-WAN that I now look after the entire stack. So from a convergence and consolidation perspective, if you look at what Fortinet does, so we are known as a firewall company, so that next gen firewall, which in itself is convergence. If you look at all the different bits and pieces that make up a next gen firewall, being able to protect and control all the ingress and egress points within your environment. So being able to inspect all that traffic coming in and out, being able to see what people are doing, adding firewall rules and policies there. One of our greatest strengths is obviously with our ASIC technology and being able to have the SD-WAN part of that firewall appliance. So, a lot of customers who we're talking to don't want a firewall and an SD-WAN appliance at every single location. So being able to, give customers the ability to just turn on SD-WAN. So if you've got a firewall, you've got an SD-WAN appliance. So there's no throughput licensing, there's no bandwidth licensing. The customer doesn't even need to tell us if they're turning SD-WAN on. It is there, it is native to the firewall itself. So 1 and 2 combined is what we call our secure SD-WAN. So being able to secure our entire WAN, doing things like intelligent routing and application steering for those users and those applications. But what about the LAN? So that's where our SD branch comes into it. So that's things like our switches, our 40 extenders, our 40 access points. So being able to control those from the firewall as well. So, being able to do things like micro segmentation, running those things from a firewall perspective, being able to run firewall policy, as an example, through on the access points through SSIDs, from the switches, being able to create different firewall policy from port to port. So going as granular as you need to and as you want to within that environment. So we've now secured the entire WAN and LAN environment, but what about when users aren't working within our corporate network? And that's what's really been driving this SASE adoption, with that end goal obviously moving into that zero trust architecture environment. So if we look at what SASE is, the SASE framework includes quite a lot of components. So there has been a lot of confusion by what SASE is and what SASE is not. There are a lot of different vendors out there who've been around for a lot longer and pushing what SASE actually is. So traditionally, SASE did start as a secure web gateway in the cloud. So if you look at the traditional SSE vendors, they were really strong in secure web gateway, or they were really strong in the CASB portion. But over time, we've added a lot more things into SASE. So we've got things now like SD-WAN, next-gen firewall or firewall as a service, secure web gateway, ZTNA, cloud, CASB, etc. So there's over 50 vendors if you look at it from a point product vendor's perspective. Trying to manage all those tools independently is a headache for customers. Once again, lack of integration, trying to manage all those environments. We don't have enough staff, we don't have enough resources, we just wouldn't have the time to manage those effectively. So we then moved into this dual vendor SASE space, which was being able to converge the next-gen firewall and SD-WAN into a single appliance, and being able to converge that SSE, so the secure web gateway, the ZTNA, CASB, DLP, etc. So there are still over 20 vendors in this space. A lot of customers I'm speaking to would have had, one SD-WAN vendor, one firewall vendor, and one SSE vendor. once again, it's still quite hard for them to manage that. So that's where we're seeing a really big push into this single vendor SASE space. Customers want a single vendor for their on-prem security and for their remote users too. So they don't want to have to manage one set of security rules for when you're in the office and another set of security rules for when you're not in the office. Every vendor has their own rules, their own policies, their own threat intelligence feeds. So being able to consolidate that and converge that as much as we can is what's actually driving this evolution into a single vendor SASE environment. All right, so when I look at SASE, when I start talking to a lot of customers, COVID really did drive quite a lot of this adoption from a SASE perspective. Once again, it was quite easy when everyone was in the office, and we probably only had 5% of our staff working remotely. So to secure those users, it was quite easy. We would VPN them into a firewall in the data center, and that data center would have all the firewall policies. So if they had to go out to the internet, if they had to go out to SaaS applications, it was nice and simple. However, when we had to then send 100% of our workers home, it really didn't scale. And so we needed bigger internet links, we needed bigger firewalls, bigger VPN solutions. And so I'm seeing two different things now. So I'm either seeing customers for when the workers are remote, VPNing all that traffic back into the data center to then go back out to the internet, which really doesn't make a lot of sense, adds a lot of latency. You need to have a lot bigger firewalls, bigger everything else within the data center. Or I'm actually seeing a lot of customers who don't care what happens when people are at home. So they'll let them go to the internet without any security, which for me is quite crazy that you're only going to worry about it when they come back into the office. By then it's probably a bit too late. So, we're still seeing a big increase as well in the SD-WAN space. So people moving away from, potentially expensive MPLS links, not necessarily getting rid of MPLS, but potentially reducing it, having multiple links coming in and out of their environment. So whether that's NBN, 5G internet, Starlink even. So we're still seeing a massive increase in that SD-WAN space. So, direct internet access is an issue, making sure that everyone is secure no matter where the users are, being able to gain that visibility and control into our SaaS applications, and just all over a better user experience. I'm still seeing a lot of customers who will have 3, 4, or 5 different VPN solutions. And from a user's perspective, it is quite annoying trying to remember which VPN I need to turn on to access different applications within the environment. So a lot of what I'm seeing are customers trying to consolidate their remote access tools into a single vendor. All right. SASE market trends. So as you saw in the previous slides, I broke it down into things like SD-WAN, Secure Web Gateway, CASB, ZTNA, Firewall as a Service, and you can see how much it's actually grown and how much it will continue to grow. So it is a growing market. Every year it continues to actually grow. You can see here the individual bits and pieces how they're actually growing. The firewall as a service piece is growing at quite a rapid rate. So a lot of customers who have SASE or who have SSE realistically only have the Secure Web Gateway piece and the CASB piece. We're seeing more and more customers wanting that full firewall capability in the cloud as well, and that SD-WAN market will still continue to grow. So from an Australia and New Zealand perspective, and now I do apologise, I did try to break this out into New Zealand individually, but the data that we received from Gartner and Forrester for this, they still seem to think Australia and New Zealand are the same country. So if we look at Australia and New Zealand as a whole, total addressable market is currently close to 300 mil, and that will grow to close to 500 mil in the next couple of years. So it is a growth market. It will continue to grow. We are literally being brought into so many conversations around SASE. And if we look at the main forces driving SASE demand, it is that convergence. So we don't have unlimited resources, whether that be staff, whether that be money. So almost every customer I'm talking to are trying to consolidate as much as they can. So that convergence between networking and security, I'm also seeing a lot of teams being converged from the customer front as well, where once we used to have a separate networking team and a separate security team, they are actually coming into the one team. And the other thing is to improve that security posture of an organization. So one of the key things, and I said it previously, is more security doesn't necessarily make you more secure. In fact, it does cause a lot of security gaps within our environments, having so many different tools. You know, if you look at some of the biggest cyber attacks recently, especially a couple of the big ones here in Australia, those customers had every single tool known to man. They had Palo, they had Fortinet, they had, you know, your checkpoints, your CrowdStrikes. They had every tool, but when those tools aren't talking, it's actually causing a lot of security gaps within our environment. So we don't find out we're under attack until it's too late. So that's really driving that consolidation, convergence, and integration story. Now, from a Fortinet perspective and the SASE momentum that we're actually seeing here, it is becoming a massive part of our billings. Just in the last quarter alone, we had our first 8-figure deal in the US. I think I cover that use case later on in the deck. We are motivated as a company to make SASE successful. So all our sellers are being trained. All the training that we've done internally, all of our partners have access to that training as well. I'll apologize in advance. There is a video of me in there from a seller's view, and it was about take 100 that I finally said, yep, this is a good enough recording. So I do apologize in advance if you have to do that training and listen to my voice again. Our SaaS POP coverage keeps on growing. Yes, there will be one coming in New Zealand. We are hoping early in the new year, if not earlier. So that has been approved. It is coming, but we do also have access to POP locations that are part of Google as well. Now, in terms of new features, we are continually adding more and more features. There's probably about 40 new features being added every single quarter. If you think about what FortiSASE is, FortiSASE is essentially just a FortiGate in the cloud. So most features, or if not all features that you can get in a FortiGate, you will get those features in SASE. We're just releasing those at a different rate. So it is a key focus for us here at Fortinet. Don't see any questions, which is good. All right, so I'll start covering off some of our use cases. So firstly, the foundation of FortiSASE. So as I said previously, everything that we do, it's all the same Forti operating system. So whether that's our firewalls, our SD-WAN, our Forti extenders, our APs, we use that same operating system. That helps us with our integration, helps us integrate not only with our own products, but it helps us integrate with third-party products as well. You know, having that unified management plane is key as well. That one analytics engine, you know, being able to suck everything into FortiAnalyzer, being able to suck it all into our SOC as a service offering as well. You know, everything that we do all leverages our FortiGuard labs. So our AI-driven security services. You know, if you think about it, 1 out of every 2 firewalls globally shipped is a FortiGate. So all that information is feeding into FortiGuard labs. So no matter the form factor of your device, no matter if it's a firewall or an access point or a SecOps product or SASE, you get that same level of protection there across the board. Also, from a unified endpoint agent perspective, you know, this is quite unique to us, where we're the only SASE vendor who our client isn't just a VPN. It is a full endpoint solution. It does the SASE, the ZTNA, the CASB, the digital experience monitoring, the SOC as a service. You know, someday in the future, you will be able to select our EDR tool on there as well. So making sure that we have that unified endpoint agent, single operating system, single management plane is what customers are really liking about our solution. All right, so from our unified SASE approach, so SASE is the convergence of networking and security. So convergence of SD-WAN and cloud-delivered security, single operating system across the board. So no matter where our users are, whether they're on the network, whether they're off the network, whether they're in a micro branch, no matter where the applications are, ensuring they have that consistent security and better user experience. So from a remote user perspective, if they're working from home and need to get access to the private data center, we can give them that access there. If they're working in a micro branch and you don't necessarily want to send out a full firewall, or you don't want to send out an SD-WAN appliance, you can actually now send out an access point or a Forti extender and connect those directly into SASE to get access to the internet or into private applications. Now, this is where we are really unique, is giving customers the ability and the flexibility to choose where they want to do security. So from my experiences, customers who we're speaking to already have an SSE vendor. Their biggest gripe was that they had to change their requirements to suit what that vendor was able to deliver. So even when they have on-prem firewall capability, they're sending all that traffic into the cloud to do all that security inspection. And that's not something that they wanted to actually do. So we're giving customers that flexibility. So if you have a firewall on-prem, do you want to do the security on-premise closer to the users using our UTM licenses or our ATP license or enterprise license, or do you want to do security in the cloud? We don't care. It's up to the customer. They have that full flexibility. Do you want it on-prem? Do you want it in the cloud? Now, 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to do the security closer to where the users are. You know, when you have the firewall capability on-prem, there's a lot more functionality you can do there, a lot of things around east-west traffic too. So, you know, giving customers the flexibility is key, and customers love that we can give them that level of flexibility in there as well. So, once again, same Forti operating system across the board, that SASE hardware agent, which is just our access points and our Forti extenders, being able to connect those smaller sites, and local SASE POPs, just a marketing term. So being able to have that flexibility, do we want to do the security inspection on-prem or in the cloud? So the 3 main use cases for SASE. So the first one is secure internet access. So what happens when our users are working remote? How do we give them access securely to the internet? We're just pointing them into SASE instead of routing them back into the data center to then go back out again. So the same level of security that you currently get on premise, you get now for all your remote workers. So that same level of deep SSL inspection. So, you know, we pride ourselves on our ability to do SSL inspection at scale. We're 5 to 7 times faster than our closest competitors. So if you think about the internet traffic, it is probably 80 to 90% secured traffic. So being able to actually inspect that traffic is key, because you can't stop what you can't see. So being able to inspect traffic at scale, being able to run it through FortiGuard labs, you know, this is billions of threats that we're seeing every single day globally. We're able to stop a lot more malware and ransomware type of attacks. Now, you don't need to have an agent. We can provide agentless as well. You do lose a bit of capability from an agentless perspective when it comes to ZTNA, but we can still deliver secure internet access for any BYOD users or any type of contractors within your environment. Also with the thin edge, so our access points and extenders, being able to connect not only users, but devices into your environment as well. All right, next use case, secure private access. So this is another place where we are quite unique. So we do secure private access in 2 different ways, via our ZTNA and via our SD-WAN integration. So via ZTNA, this is where we really separate ourselves. This is actually where we've had a lot of success. So for our ZTNA, the SASE portal is only used for the configuration. So once that configuration is done, it's pushed to the endpoint client. As you remember, we have a full endpoint client. It's not just a VPN. So we push that policy down to the client. We push it out to all your FortiGates. So FortiGates, while they're a FortiGate, while they're an SD-WAN appliance, they're also ZTNA proxies. So being able to leverage that existing investment within your environment. Then when a user needs to get to an application, we're doing all the user checks, all the device checks and posture checks at the actual client layer. So we're not having to create a GRE tunnel from the user to a POP to the application. We're doing all the checks here. Once we've checked that it's the right user, it's the right device, we do posture checks, we'll create a tunnel directly to that application, but only to that application. The main tenet of Zero Trust is never trust, always verify. So we're giving you access to that application and only that application. If you want to move from application A to application B, we're doing all those checks again. Never trust, always verify. We're going to do those checks every single minute. So if at any point a user decides to turn their antivirus off, or if it's an attacker, and if you've clicked on a link, the first thing that attacker is going to do is turn every running security process off. So they may turn off an EDR, they may turn off antivirus, so they can download more malware onto the system. As soon as those things are turned off, we will terminate those sessions and we'll only give you access again once you are compliant. So once your EDR is running again, once your antivirus is turned back on again, we won't give you access. So it's granular and explicit application access per session and continuous device posture reassessments as well. So every single minute, we can get that down to 30 seconds if you so choose to. Now, the second way in which we do private access is through our native SD-WAN integration. So as I said, SASE is a FortiGate in the cloud. If it's a FortiGate, it means it's an SD-WAN appliances as well. So being able to have that that same SD-WAN level of application steering and intelligent routing for all your users, being able to connect SASE into your existing SD-WAN environment literally takes a couple of minutes. So if you've created your hub and spoke environment within your SD-WAN environment or within your network, SASE will just become another spoke, which means that SASE can also become part of that AD VPN environment as well. So we're not having to route all that traffic from a POP into the hub to then get back out to an application. AD VPN applies, and so we will find the fastest route to wherever that application lives. Now, last but not least is secure SaaS access. So as we all know, with SaaS applications, we're responsible for the data. We're not responsible for the underlying infrastructure. So how do we provide that visibility and control into those SaaS applications? So we do that in two ways. We do that through our inline CASB. So inline CASB is for things like shadow IT. So being able to see everything our users are doing, what applications they're going to, what they're uploading, what they're downloading, being able to identify high-risk users, high-risk applications. Once you have that visibility, that's when you can start adding controls. So, through our granular application control. So now we have over 7,000 applications there. So being able to create granular access to applications. So this user group can have access to this application, or this user group can have access to this application, but they can only have read rights, and this other user group can have read and write rights. We're seeing a lot more customers now blocking uploads to everything except the Office suite. So we can do things along those lines as well. So block everything and allow uploads only to Office 365 or, downloads to Box or Dropbox only. This is where we can also add things like tenancy control. So locking things down to only your corporate tenancies. So, making sure that people aren't accidentally or maliciously storing things in their own personal Salesforce account or their personal OneDrive account. So really taking that out of the equation. This is where we can also add our DLP rules. So our DLP has really improved recently. So when we went up to 7.2, we've got a lot more capability in there now. I think we've gone from 50 to over 500 predefined sensors that we can do things now like credit card numbers, driver's license numbers. Sorry, not only things like that, but now things like dates of birth, email addresses, Microsoft purview tags, etc. So that covers the data in transit. What about the data at rest? So that's through our API CASB. So that's where we hook into those SaaS applications. We can scan every file. We'll run it through FortiGuard Labs in the sandbox. If there's anything malicious, we can quarantine it or kill it. But we also give you a full file directory as well. So being able to share, and I'll use Office 365 as an example here, being able to see every single file from author through to who they've shared it with, we've got a nice, real cool topology view, so you can see if there's any files that have been shared outside of the company with full read-write access, and then you can do things like revoking that access for whoever that was sent to. So full end-to-end SaaS visibility and control. It's all about the visibility and the control. You can't stop what you can't see. Back onto the DLP, as I mentioned, this has been really improved recently. So we now support over 500 predefined data patterns. We can now integrate with Microsoft Purview. So if customers have got their Microsoft Purview tags, we can integrate those Purview tags into our DLP as well. So really, really beef this up over the last 3 to 6 months, which is pretty cool. And then once again, that secure thin edge connectivity. So being able to protect not only users, but devices in those smaller locations. So, people using serviced offices, people who, may have a coffee shop type environment where they only have a couple of users, but they also have things like, IP TVs or IP cameras, and you want to secure all of those. Those types of devices usually can't load an agent on there. So how do you secure those? Without having to put a full firewall in every single location. That's where our secure thin edge really comes into it. So being able to secure not only users, but IoT devices within their environment as well. And that will get you access into everything. So SaaS applications, internet, public cloud, and even into your private data center. So simple SASE licensing. So in the latest Magic Quadrant, we were called out for having the most simplest licensing of every vendor, and I do like it, and I fight every time they try and add a new feature and they try and add it as a separate SKU. We always win, and they keep it as part of our standard SKUs. So we're keeping it as simple as you possibly can. Most customers, every customer I speak to who already has SASE is annoyed by the very granular pricing that they get from other vendors. So generally they get a secure web gateway license, and then they have to pay for the cloud firewall license. They have to pay for the ZTNA license, which is generally double the cost. CASB, you may only get a couple of SaaS applications included, and there's generally no endpoint security. A lot of vendors will make you pay for a data lake, will make you pay for support as well. So as part of our standard bundle, you get everything you can see on the screen. So all the firewall licensing, that also includes things like DNS, that includes things like SSL inspection. There are quite a few vendors who will charge you extra for the level of SSL inspection as well. So key messaging here is nice and simple licensing, everything included, even the cloud logging's included, the support's included, and we support up to 3 devices per user. So that can be Mac, iOS, Android, Linux, and Windows. We will support up to 3 per user as well. Now, we do have 3 different levels of pricing. So the first level of pricing is our standard, everything that you saw on that previous screen. We also have our advanced bundle. I'm going to, in the next few slides, cover these advanced features, but they're things like digital experience monitoring, SOC as a service integration, endpoint forensics, dedicated IPs are all included as part of that advanced license. And our comprehensive license just gives you access to our Google locations as well. So being able to mix and match Google locations with our Fortinet cloud locations to give customers that broader POP service area. So our advanced services and key differentiators here. So if I look at probably the last 2 quarters of deals in which we've won here in Australia, these next 3 features have basically been the catalyst for customers to go down the 40 SASE path. So firstly is that end-to-end digital experience monitoring. This is our 40 monitor product. Being able to have that end-to-end, it's not a security tool, it's an operations tool. So if someone calls and they're like, hey, my Teams is running badly, being able to very quickly see, is it the last mile? So is it between the POP and the SaaS application? Is it jitter? Is it latency? Or is it from the end user perspective? So, is Mary at home and she has too many tabs open and her CPU is at 100%, or a disk is at 100%, or her RAM's fully maxed out? Or is it her Wi-Fi signal at home? So, being able to take that pressure away from any type of operations team or help desk team, where they would, generally have to spend a lot of time looking at different parts within the environment, looking at the network, looking at Wi-Fi, looking at the users, at the applications, to being able to very quickly pinpoint exactly where the issue is and remediate a lot faster. This one is really taking off. So our SOC as a service integration with Fortinet SASE. So as part of our advanced license, you get SOC as a service integration. So it's actually humans. It's our actual FortiGuard Labs team monitoring your environment for any user under management of Fortinet SASE. So we'll take out all the false positives. We will only let you know when something needs to be responded to. So within 15 minutes of our FortiGuard Labs team seeing something, we will notify you. We'll give you all the indicators of compromise. We'll give you the why, what, when, how, and what you should do to actually fix that. But we'll also give you continual improvement. So based on what the SOC team are seeing in your environment, they will make recommendations. They can provide things like on-demand reporting. You'll have quarterly meetings with that team who will then make recommendations about particular rules or policies you may want to make within your environment based on what they're actually seeing. Now, you also get access to FortiGuard Forensics. So this is really cool, where you can actually submit an endpoint for analysis to FortiGuard Labs strictly from the portal. Another example of the use case there, if someone's at home and they've clicked on a link, they're not sure if it was a bad link or not, they can come back into the office, let the security team know. The security team can submit that endpoint, and that FortiGuard forensics team will give you a full forensic analysis, will report on the findings. Is there something there? Isn't there something there? If there is, here's our recommendations for any type of remediation steps there. Okay, quick sip of water. All right, last but not least is going through opportunity identification. So go to market for customers or for prospects. We have a lot of SD-WAN customers. So being able to tackle those SD-WAN customers, we are going to be doing that internally as a company as well. So every account manager will be or is being mandated to start having conversations with every FortiGate customer, every Forti SD-WAN customer that they've actually got, talking about that consolidation, that convergence. We have a very big footprint in that space. A lot of our Forti client customers, so we have a lot of Forti client customers, who will potentially be looking at consolidating agents. They don't want a Forti client and another SSC, etc. So, most customers we speak to will be looking at a ZTNA or looking towards a ZTNA journey. Customers are looking at SASE as well. So being able to migrate those Forti client customers, but also from a new logo perspective, there are still a lot of customers who have on-prem proxies. So force point proxies, a lot of those are becoming end of life. Blue coat proxies, a lot of those are becoming end of life as well. So we are still doing straight up proxy replacements. Customers with digital transformation projects who have things on-prem, but they want to move things into the cloud. How can they get that same secure access to those applications, no matter where those applications are? So if you look at those main use cases, so customers migrating from a traditional VPN or multiple VPNs into the zero trust application access. Now, this is, I hate the word journey, but it is a journey, and yet you don't just turn on ZTNA from day one. So giving them the ability to consolidate potentially multiple remote access solutions, then they have all the tools, all the framework there to move into that ZTNA environment. So once they understand all their applications, who should have access, what level of access, they can slowly bite off bits and pieces as they're going along. I know here at Fortinet, over 14,000 employees and hundreds of applications. We are now at 100%. It took about 18 months, but we are now at 100% of our applications. The best part about it is, no matter what I log into, it's my same username and password. It's my SSO. I get to the portal, I type in my username and password, and if it's a really critical application, I have to do the token on my phone. So it's quite, from a user experience side, I actually love it because I don't have to think. I can get access to every application, and all I need to have is my username, my password, and sometimes a token on my phone. Safe web browsing, as I mentioned, those types of proxy replacements. What are the users doing when they're at home? How can we control them? SD-WAN will continue to grow. There's a lot of people with opinions on the internet, especially SSE vendors in the past, who said SD-WAN's dead. It's funny that both those vendors have now gone out and bought an SD-WAN. So if SD-WAN's dead, why did they go out and buy an SD-WAN vendor within their environment? Shadow IT is still a massive one. So being able to see everything our users are doing within our environment, especially when they're off the network. But I think the main one I really am seeing is that consolidation of multiple vendors and agents. So customers do have a lot of vendors within their environment, and they're trying to consolidate as much as they can, not only from a cost saving perspective, but also from an operational efficiencies perspective. So, if the team's already trained up on Fortinet, they don't want to learn another product. So it's moving from Fortinet into a Fortinet environment, which does make life a lot easier. Okay, last but not least is a use case. So this is a customer of ours who we sold SASE to earlier this year in Australia. So they're a leading retailer of prestige cars. So think about things like Ferraris, Bentleys, etc. So we'd been talking to them about SASE for a while. They were looking at buying SASE in the new financial year. However, over Christmas, their biggest competitor got hit with a cyber attack, and it was all over the news here. So prior to New Year's Eve, they got a phone call from their board saying, "Make sure we're not in the newspaper next." So what happened with their competitor was these car retailers buy a lot of other companies, and there's a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And so how their competitor was attacked was the company who they merged with, they just gave them access into the network. Someone was infected, and then basically the attackers got control of their entire environment. So they didn't want this to happen with them either. So basically, the solution was giving everyone SASE, and every time they onboard a new company, they will give them SASE. So they've got that first up, that secure internet access. But then from a private access perspective, they will only give those users access to applications they should have access to, and they're going to set a lot of posture checks on those devices. So making sure there's the antivirus is up to date, there's no vulnerabilities on those machines. Only then can you access this one or two applications within our environment. So they were an existing Fortinet customer. It makes it a lot easier when they are an existing Fortinet customer. We've won a lot of deals where there's no Fortinet in there, and generally it's been a broader FortiGate SD-WAN and SASE deal. But we've been brought into customers who have FortiGates, and they'll have Netscope or Zscaler in their environment. When we talk about that consistent security approach, when we talk about leveraging existing investments, we are winning those those opportunities more than not. So pretty good opportunity there. All right, last but not least, I think the key messaging here is from a customer perspective is that consistent security. So no matter where the users are, no matter where the applications are, having that consistent security posture. So whether you're off the network and you want on-prem resources, whether you're on the network and you want off-network resources, having that consistent security and that better user experience, being able to reduce costs. So I'm sure you've all seen our Forrester total economic impact report where we talk about return on investment and total cost of ownership. If you add SASE on top of that, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And as I mentioned, we're seeing better user experiences, not having to think about different tools and different products. What VPN do I need to log into to get access into what application? It makes it from a user experience side a very seamless way of doing things. All right, so why Fortinet and why Fortinet Unified SASE? So you've heard me with this consistent messaging across the board. So that single operating system is powered by that convergence. It's what's helping us with that consolidation, that convergence, that integration. Everything we do is on that same operating system. Having it all protected by FortiGuard Labs. So when there's a lot of vendors talking about AI and ML, we've been doing this for over 10 years. So FortiGuard Labs has been using machine learning and a version of AI for a long time, because think about those billions of threats a day. A human could not keep up with that. So using humans and machines to help drive those security services. Simplicity, that unified agent, that single console, being able to do things not just like endpoint protection, but endpoint protection, SASE, SOC as a service, digital experience monitoring, all from that single agent. And last but not least is that flexible security. So having customers being able to choose a vendor based on their requirements, not having to change their requirements based on the vendor. So giving them those flexible deployment options. Do you want on-prem security? Do you want security in the cloud? Choice is yours. You do it how you want to. Do you want an agent? Do you want an agentless? Do you want to send out a FortiGate? Do you want to send out an access point? So it's all about the flexibility, and I can't stress this enough. A lot of customers I speak to are annoyed that they had to change their requirements to fit a vendor. It's quite refreshing for them that we're giving them the ability to have that level of choice within their environment. Now, last but not least, I really don't like these slides. I don't like talking about competitors, but I was asked to put it in here. So, if you need any further information, feel free to reach out to your account team or to your local SC. everyone keeps on changing, everyone keeps on adapting. You know, we've come a long way from where we were about 3 to 6 months ago, 12 to 18 months ago. So things do change. These things are regularly updated as well. But from my own personal experience, what we're seeing when we're competing in the SSE space, when we have when they're looking not only for secure internet access, but they're looking for secure internet access and secure private access. We are the most cost-effective solution in there, and we offer a lot in terms of security efficacy as well. So I'm going to leave that one there because I don't like talking too much about competition. I think about our strengths. Our strengths are that single unified agent, the FortiGuard lab services, that thin edge capability, and giving customers the choice of where they can do that level of security. So I'm going to hand back over to Bella. Thanks everyone for your time.
Awesome. That was really impressive. You did precisely in your time though. So well done. Looking at the content, I'm impressed. Robert, we've got quite a few questions, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So the first question, the first one, amazing, awesome presentation. So the first one was, what is the ETA for a local POP in New Zealand, please, for SASE?
I am technically not allowed to give that information because it is roadmap. But if I was a betting man, I would say by early next year.
Awesome. Thank you.
We should have turned off the recording before I said that, but look, I can't commit to it. Times can change, timelines can change as well, but early next year is from what I'm being told from my sources. So
okay, at this point, this is what might look like. Yeah. Cool. Is it possible to allow local breakout for certain destinations or categories of destinations from a user within a Forti client agent installed, rather than forwarding it all through a SASE POP?
Yeah, we can do split tunneling. So things like any kind of traffic. So if you want streaming services not to come through your POP, because why would you want to do streaming services? But split tunneling is definitely available there. So all good.
Thank you. Does Forti SASE integrate with other third parties MDR services such as S1?
Yeah, so because we have that full endpoint client, we have the ability to turn things on and off. So if you've already got a CrowdStrike or a SentinelOne, you can continue to use that as an EDR, and we will sit there as a SASE agent. The cool thing there is that as part of the ZTNA rules, you can actually use their running process as part of the posture check. So the SentinelOne process for MDR needs to be running for you to get access into an application, and if that process is ever turned off, you can't have access into that application. So yes, we can coexist with other EDR and AV vendors.
Cool. Thank you. I will skip a comment and I will go back to it, just in the interest of time. So is monitoring of connection health between sites included in the bundle, or is it an add-on?
No, so it's included as part of the advanced license, but that's only from the clients to the application. Any site to site, you still so from your different locations. So if you're looking at site to site, you will need FortiMonitor. But in terms of client through to application, that is included as our advanced license. It's not an additional SKU. You just buy the advanced license, and digital experience monitoring is included. Once again, feel free to reach out to your local teams. They now have full demo access. They can show you all these things as well.
Fantastic. Question from Vinko. For SSL deep inspection, do we need to install security certificate on each device?
Yeah, that's just part of the process. So it's a nice simple process there.
And another one from Vinko. How does zero agent, no agent work with SASE? For example, for our suppliers connection security.
Yep. So just a pack file we'll send to that user, and that pack file gets them access into the Forti SASE portal. We also do have a really cool thing coming this month, which is our unmanaged ZTNA portal. So for unmanaged devices, contractors will have a portal. It'll have the applications there. You give that user access to that portal, they get access to those applications. I'm really excited about that feature coming out this month. So
brilliant. And I don't know if this was covered throughout, but as a support provider, I need to VPN to multiple clients. When testing the SASE Fortinet client app, I couldn't add additional SSL VPN configurations to the Fortinet FortiClient app. Sorry,
Yep.
I've just had
So,
something coming up.
no.
I've
Yep.
got notifications blocking the message. This is probably intentional, so you can control all the traffic, but it means we can't really install this version of FortiClient.
Yep. We will take that one offline. I'll get you involved with Steve Perrich or one of the team locally there in New Zealand. So we've there's some cool things we can do now from an MSSP perspective in terms of OUs and how you can gain access into different applications. I was on an SME call last night, and there are a few different options there where you can gain access into multiple accounts. So, we've already onboarded quite a few MSSPs here in Australia. They've gone through all their testing and they're using that whole managed service OU model to get access to different applications. And every customer is different. Every partner is different. They may want some where the partner wants to own and manage the license, but there are some where the user still wants to own that license. So being able to do cool things like around the IAM piece and role-based access, there are definitely some options there. So.
Brilliant. Thank you for the offer, and absolutely, we can engage and help as well. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Robert, for your time,
No
for your knowledge and answering the questions, and Fortinet as well. Thank you everybody for being present and coming over and asking questions too. Hopefully this was helpful. We are super committed at Ingram to continue to enable our partners to learn and be ready for the future. So we encourage you to scan this QR code or just visit the website at Ingram Micro. We've got a Forti Hub, and that's where you're going to find upcoming training, webinars, workshops, and also events and any kind of incentive or promotions that we have. And you also get to know who the crew at Ingram Micro is, and sort of your access to Fortinet too. So I encourage you to have a look and check out what's coming. We've got 3 face-to-face workshops coming, one in Christchurch, Hamilton, and Tauranga. So you can check it out there and register. Also, I really want to say that we would really appreciate if you could give us the feedback on the session and overall as well how you're learning. We've got a feedback, I think, QR code coming on the next page. We cannot improve without your feedback. We need to know if we're learning at the right level of information, and also what else do you want to know about it. So if you can give us a feedback and a heads up, or what's coming for you in your context of business, what sort of interests have you got, so we can plan things around, that will be super valuable. So please take time to fill in the feedback. We appreciate, and we will use it to continue to improve and create those relevant sessions. So if there isn't anything else that we want to cover, again, thank you so much for coming, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Thanks, Robert.
Sorry, now I'm off mute. Thank you for having me.